So we had a talk similar to this about a year ago, and the statement that I'm going to read to begin this talk is what it popped back in front of me and led me to talk about this again. And I considered holding off a while longer because I don't like doing anything so close together that's similar. And then yesterday, or was it Friday, I can't remember which, somebody sent me an email and asked a question that told me, let's go ahead and talk about this, and then I'm going to answer her email in a talk here someday soon too, which is also along these lines. But I thought, okay, that was a sign. Let's just keep going with it. But anyway, so today we're talking about the perfect now. And like I said, the quote popped up in one of my searches the other day, and reminded me of this. But to me, the perfect now is the only place that is perfect. And we're going to talk further about this, but the temptation is to look back and say, oh, the good old days, they were so good. And then the other temptation is to go, oh, when we get through this, it'll be so good. But there's only one place that we can even be. And that's right here, right now. And it can be perfect. So that's what we're talking about. So the author of this statement is Frank Townsend. And he wrote, "Do you think there is anything more perfect than this earth? I tell you there is not. Do you think that there is anything that exists on this earth that is not perfect? I tell you there is not. The seed is perfect. The seedling is perfect. The plant is perfect. The bud is perfect. The flower is perfect. The fruit is perfect. The seeds of the fruit are perfect, and so on forever. But the perfect seed is not the perfect fruit. Each in its own turn grows out of the other. Flowers and trees, temples, brothels, factories, schools, men and women, all are perfect expressions of themselves. And these and these perfections are relative in time, and as time passes, their expression changes. The world that is today grew out of the earth of yesterday, and the earth of tomorrow is forming in the earth of today. And you and I belong to the world of today, having come from yesterday with a journey to make into tomorrow." We can't spend our time and our focus and our energy trying to be what was or what is yet to come. We be what we are right now. There was another quote, and I've seen it credited to Dr. Seuss, but I don't know for sure who it is, and I don't have it written down here. It just came to mind as I was reading that. Something along the line of, you can have the most beautiful fish in the world, but if you judge it by its ability to climb a tree, it will grow up thinking it's stupid. To judge what we see based on anything other than what we see cheats ourselves out of knowing truth, cheats that thing out of knowing truth. Now, there's a lot of stuff right now, and I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that the reason this popped up is because of a lot of the things going on right now in our world. Because I am guilty of looking at it going, this is crazy, this is, look at history and look at this, and then, yeah. And I have to remind myself, stop. I don't know what's going to come of it. And maybe it's going to be the most beautiful thing ever. But I've got to stop looking at what is driven by fear. And if we're looking in the past, if we're comparing what's going on now to what's happening in the past, it's fear-based. If we're looking at what's going to happen in the future, and we're seeing this as bad, our future's bad. Fear. We have to look at the perfection of what's going on. And I have to be honest, I can't see what the perfection is in a lot of what's going on right now. I am not going to sit here and tell you that I've got it figured out, that I am some sort of guru with a crystal ball. I don't know how it's all going to turn out, but I can tell you this, is I fear it. And if I let my thoughts and my focus and my energies all go towards fear, it's not going to turn out very pretty. I read an article a few weeks ago, and I can't remember if I mentioned it here in one of the talks or if I just mentioned it to some of you. There was a study done that talked about if someone is constantly dishing out fear and anger and hatred, and people start buying into it, it takes 2 months of that before people will not be able to believe anything other than fear and anger and hatred, no matter what is put in front of him to prove the contrary. I found that study very interesting because I've seen a lot of that happening, especially with leading into the election. I saw a lot of that going on from both sides. And it amazed me that if you feed somebody that information, whether it's accurate or not, if you feed somebody that information for 2 months, they have the inability, they're unable to see truth, no matter what you put in front of them. What I realized is we do it to ourselves when we watch the stuff that we see in the news and we buy into it. We are unable to see truth or anything to the contrary if we watch it long enough. And I'll tell you all now, I'm so far off my notes that don't know where we're going to end up here. You think about that. If your source of news or source of information about what's going on in this world is feeding you good, bad, or indifferent, but whatever it's feeding you, if you rely on that solely for your information and you believe it, within 2 months you won't believe anything to the contrary. Which means that if what you're seeing is believed by you to be horrible, you will not be able to see good. I've talked many times in here about the media, and I had to remind myself of this week too. I've talked many times about the media is going to feed us the information that's going to make them the most money. Not necessarily facts, not necessarily truths, but what people are buying into. What is drawing them viewers? What is building their ratings so that they can get more advertising dollars? And that was a hard pill to swallow this week, because the media that I normally tune into, they're harping on the things that have caused fear in me, and it's like, yeah, see, they're seeing it too. Yeah, I got it. They're seeing what everybody, but they're talking about what the people are buying into, not necessarily what's truth. I'm like, oh. See, I have to keep reminding myself of this, because it's so easy to get caught up, no matter how much you study, no matter how much time you spend, in the attempt to focus on truth and good and love and stay out of all of the mess. No matter how much you try, you can get sucked back in. Guilty. Everything you see in life, you see through the mirror of your own mind. If you think things are messed up, everything you see will be messed up. There are a few exceptions. I mean, there's a few exceptions in there. I was looking at the world and saying, man, this thing's falling apart. Oh my God, this is a mess. This is crazy. I didn't see Kathy as messed up and crazy, because I don't see Kathy that way. In my mind, the mirror of my mind, Kathy is, well, perfect. The world, in the mirror of my mind, over the past few weeks, pretty messed up. Guess what? I am creating that experience. I'm creating that image in the mirror of my mind. We're doing it to ourselves. We're doing it to ourselves. We get to pick and choose how we experience all of life. If you are experiencing a life full of fear or anger or hatred right now, you're getting exactly what you created. You can choose. This morning, for instance, we had our gratitude moment. You got to choose to take a moment and feel grateful. In that moment, nothing happened to bring gratitude to you other than a suggestion that you bring it to yourself. And I venture to say that every one of you felt it. I didn't do anything. You did it. We get to choose the experience that we have. We get to choose it. We don't have to wait on something to happen. So if your experience of this life right now is chaotic or scary, it's the image in the mirror of your own mind. Change what you're looking at. Change what you're focusing on. Change how you perceive life. Start looking at not what's going on in Washington, D.C. or Van Alstyne, Texas, or Sherman, Texas, or Denison, Texas, or any. Don't look at what's happening out there. Look at what's happening in God's presence, which is within you always. Because in that, you find perfection. If you're looking for perfection any other place, hate to be the bearer of bad news, you ain't going to find it. You may get close in some places. You may find some absolutely incredible things in this material world. But it's in the truth of God's presence, God's power, God's wisdom that is everywhere, always, including within each of us. That's where we find truth. That's where we can focus our experience. That's where we find perfection. And as we look at that, as we focus on that, everything else goes to its proper place. We may still not like what's going on out there. We realize that doesn't hold power over me. I'm not a victim to that. I'm only a victim to my thinking, my perceptions, and I can control that. As far as this world goes, if we look back on it, people thought that the steam engine was just horrible. People of that time thought this is just Satan coming in, blowing this smoke everywhere, scaring everything, making these horrible noises. There were several, when they first invented the steam engine, several of the boiler systems blew, killing many people. There was a great concern that this was a horrible thing. Look what it led to. Look at the transportation that we have today because of that. People thought the Ice Age was, when they look back at it, how horrible that must have been and everything. It led to what we have now. The past leads to what we have now, and we can perceive now beautifully if we choose. Well, we also have to look at what's happening now as possibly leading to a beautiful, beautiful future. But we can't have that beautiful future if we're perceiving and throwing in the negative energy into it. Looking into the past to understand the reasons why something happened, and looking into the future to understand how something happened today will affect the world tomorrow are not nearly as important as seeing the perfect expression of God that is this present moment. We can work ourselves up. We can drive ourselves nuts watching everything that's going on, trying to figure it all out, blaming, trying to fix it. There's only one way to fix it, and that's to be looking at truth, and it will self-correct. When we look at truth, it will self-correct. Let me expand on that a little bit. When we look at truth, when that's our focus, our perceptions and our experience of what's going on out there self-corrects. The energy that we put out there is going to affect the physical, material stuff that's going on. That's going to happen. But no matter what happens, our experience self-corrects. And our experience is all that's real. It's all that's real. The statement from Frank Townsend calls us to stay present and to know that all is well. Staying present allows us to see the good within us and around us. The statement also suggests that everything happens for a reason. One word of caution with this quote that I want to share with you. If we're to take Townsend's statement to be, to heart, which I do, I think it's a beautiful statement. There's a temptation to look at all that's going on around us and knowing that everything will be all right and maybe even make things better in the future. And it's not a horrible way to look at it, but just bear with me for a minute. We need not see all of that as necessarily right. I'm not asking you to condone everything you see. That's not what this is all about. What this is all about is to believe and to know that whatever is going on, that there is a higher power underneath it all. There's a higher power that is greater than anything that what you see could bring about. It's to stay focused on truth. That statement kind of leads us to be tempted to say, oh, tariffs are the big thing in the news, so let's just throw tariffs. That's a beautiful thing. Long term, I hope it is. But whether it is or not, I have to remember there is a higher power that is greater than anything that's going to happen with that. That this higher power is going to lead to that greater, better tomorrow. It may or may not have anything to do with tariffs. I don't know. But I do know that God will prevail. And that is the truth that I have to keep going back to. Anything other than that, anything other than that is fear. And in case you didn't know, fear is future events appearing real. That's all it is. They hadn't happened yet, so they can't be real. They appear to be real. And the other thing about, there's another one with fear that is false evidence appearing real. Neither one of those are anything that you can grab hold of. They're just imagination going a little nuts on us. So when we look at people, when we look at situations in our lives, we must see the truth. And there's one truth: God expressing. We can't look at what our judgments say it is. We can't look at anything other than God expressing, or we're going to be seeing an illusion. We can't look at potential either. If we look at potential, that is just simply a judgment of this is what it could be. And if we're looking at anything that way, especially people, if we're looking at what this could be, we're saying you're not good enough as you are. So we've got to be careful of that. It's hard to do, especially with loved ones. You know, with kids and grandkids and different family members. It's like, oh, you could be so much. Oh, well, I'm not good enough. I understand that. So, look at truth. When you choose to see only the good, the God presence, you clear your vision of the world. Everything and every experience, when seen through the truth of God, is a beautiful expression of God. And that's your choice. So let's close today with prayer. Father God, our prayer today is awareness of our thoughts and perceptions. Knowing our thoughts and perceptions dictate and determine every experience we have in this life, we pray clarity of our thoughts and truth of our perceptions. As we are one in one mind, we know our thoughts are divine thoughts and worthy of our attention and understanding. Today we claim clarity, we claim awareness, we claim calm in our thoughts, and elevate understanding of you in our lives. Knowing this prayer is already made manifest, we release all blocks to our knowing these truths. We are clear in our thoughts. We are calm in this present moment where we are wholly one in you, and we carry this knowing throughout all of life. We hold you and all of this in gratitude, and so it is. Amen.